All right, we're going to use our previous lab from the root port, designated port, non-designated port lab to prove or disprove the theory that we just went over about the root port cost and how it can influence that root port selection. So let's go ahead and bring the live equipment up, and you'll see that switch 3, just like the other two switches, exactly where we left them. It's switch 3 is still using fast 11 as its root port and blocking on 12. What we will do in an attempt to change that is change this to a gig Ethernet link. And we'll do that on port 12 on both sides and see what happens, because I want to show you two different ways to change the port cost, because obviously I have no magic powers. I can't turn that fast Ethernet port into a gig Ethernet port, but what I can do is change the speed, the STP cost of the port, which is speed related. So on O12, I'm going to show you two different ways to do this, and this is the one that people tend to use because they're using iOS help and it's right in front of you. Here's spanning, short for spanning tree, of course, and then we've got cost, change in interfaces, spanning tree, port path cost. Well, that sounds exactly like what we're trying to do, and I'm going to change it to 4 to match a gig Ethernet's speed, and it is a Saturnalia miracle, my friends. There are no choices, so let's just go with that, and we will verify, which shows spanning VLAN 1. And we could see that it has indeed changed. Now, the port is still in blocking mode, but we probably need to go ahead and fix the other end of the link before that's going to change, right? So what I've done here with the spanning cost 4 command, watch the selection of words here, their choice of words, because with this one, it's change in interfaces, spanning tree, port path cost. That's for all instances of spanning tree. So if you were running 50 different VLANs, you just change the speed for, the cost for 50 different VLANs. And as we'll see in another lab later in this section, maybe you don't want to do it quite at that level. Maybe you want to say, I want the cost to change, but only for a certain VLAN. So let's go up to switch 2, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. It's good to know both of these commands, but what you need to use here, instead of spanning cost, use spanning VLAN, and here's your cost option. You can also change that port priority we've seen in the show spanning command. And we're going to change that to 4, and again, another Saturnalia miracle. So let's go down to 3 and see what's going on, because now we've changed the cost on 12, fast Ethernet 12 on both switches 2 and 3. So let's see what that impact is. I could just use my up arrow there, can't I? And this is odd. You know, here's the cost of 4. We're still blocking. Let me go back up to 2. I should have verified this, of course. Run show spanning VLAN 1. And it changed successfully. So what's going on there? We need some kind of reset or something? That's kind of weird. So we've successfully changed those two port cost settings. We know two different ways to do it. That's a good deal. But we're not getting what we wanted. So let's run a debug. I like this one, spanning events, because you do have quite an array of spanning debugs here, and you certainly don't need to be using all of these yet or know all of them yet. But boy, if you do something like general or something like that, your screen's just going to be flooded with information. So we need to keep it down a little bit. Let's go with debug spanning events. And we're not going to get anything right now because we don't have any events to debug. No ports are changing. But let me show you what happens when a port starts coming out of blocking mode. And I'm going to do that by shutting this switch's root port. And now all of a sudden, you know, the root port changes. I'll come back through this once it stops flowing. But here's a root port, and we've gone to listening. Are we still in listening mode? There's the LIS for listening. We talked about that in those modes. And now you can see it's gone to learning. So that sounds like a good thing. And we'll see what happens here if we hang around another 15, 20 seconds or so. And there we go, and now we're in forwarding, and you can see the line protocol has come up on the management interface on VLAN 1. So We saw some interesting stuff there, but again, we didn't really want to force it to use the other path to get to switch 1 by shutting fast 11 down. We wanted to change the cost. But did you notice something here? Look at this. VLAN 1 new root port fast 012 cost 23. Why is the cost 23 if we changed that link? Well, let's go back through this. We started with all ports at 19. We changed both of these to 4. Everything else is still at 19. We know that switch 1 is still the root. So why isn't switch 3 going this way naturally when 011 is open? Why is it still using 011 as its root? Because we can reopen that and see what's going on. Hold on. Let's do that. I think it's good for us to see that debug again. And now we've already got set port ID, STP, new root port 011 costs 19. Okay, so this debug is fantastic. You see 12's already been put into blocking mode, and now 11 is going to continue to come out and go from blocking to forwarding. Now it's already in the learning stage. So we've seen a lot of great stuff here, but now we need the answer to the question, why is 011 still the root? Where did that cost of 23 come from if we change the port cost on switch 2 and switch 3? You know, what happened there? Well, what happened there, and if this is the first time you watch the video and you got it already, I'm really impressed. Remember when I said that the BPDU cost, you know, that path cost is 0, and it increments as it enters the port? Well, what we did on switch 2 is change the cost on the wrong port. Because when switch 1 is sending its BPDU this way, and it enters that port, it's entering a port that still has a cost of 19. So the path cost right there goes to 19. Then it gets forwarded down this way. Switch 3 gets it on a port that we changed the cost to 4 on. 19 plus 4, 23. That's where it got that port cost of 23 that we saw in the debug. So the reason we didn't get what we wanted is that we changed the speed on the port on switch 2 that the BPDU is leaving. It doesn't increment when it's leaving. It increments as it comes in. Ah, gotcha. So let's see. Let's go up to port 11, switch 2, and we're going to switch 12 back here first off. And we'll just put a no right in front of that. Let's see if that helps us out a little bit. And you can see already, wow, look how fast that changed. It changed before we could get there. Because you see now the cost is 8. Fantastic. I love this debug because it just gives you enough information to learn, and you don't have, 47 other screens you have to go through. Now fast 12 on switch 3 is going to be chosen as the root. And you can see why. New root port, fast 012, cost of 8. And that really illustrates the fact that that port cost increments as the BPDU comes in. So again, that's an excellent practice exam question, job interview question, real interview question. You could be asked, okay, what ports are you going to change the speed on for this port to suddenly go this way and take this and make 12 the root port, even though it's a physically longer path? Well, when we changed the correct cost, we saw it go right over, and the debug verifies it. And we'll run show spanning VLAN 1, and there's the verification right there. 12 is now the root. It's forwarding and has a cost of 4 because now it has a port cost of, an overall cost of 8 to get to the root that way, and 19 through the direct route, which is exactly what we saw in the theoretical discussion, but now you've seen it live as well, which is even better. Whew, a lot going on in that one. Again, let me run that show debug. A couple of debug tips here for you that I'll probably repeat throughout the course, but they are important. You can forget which debugs you're running, whether you're troubleshooting or in a lab environment, because you might be cutting stuff on, cutting stuff off, and then after a few minutes or a few hours, you're thinking, okay, I don't even remember what debugs I have running at this point. Just run show debug and it'll tell you. If you want to turn off your debugs individually, just put the word no in front of it. So if I put no debug spanning events right now, that would turn off that one debug. But if you want to turn them all off, which is what you always do when you're leaving a client site or even a lab, just hit undebug all and you'll get a little message that says all possible debugging has been turned off. Great lab work there. Let's take a little bit of a breather, head to the next video in a few minutes, and I'll see you there.